Alright, so now we have our Bootstrap template in place. We have basically all the visuals for the home page. Now what we need to do is actually grab that customer data and have it print out here from inside this table. Now we have our database class all set up, so we can actually just use it. It's ready to start taking queries. So what we want to do is right below this include line, we want to open up PHP tags. Okay, and we're going to put our code in here. Now we have this above the HTML doc type, and if you're using PHP with HTML, you generally want to keep all your logic at the top above all the HTML. You don't want to output anything above the HTML because that can screw things up. Internet Explorer will go into quirks mode, and it's just not good. So you can do your logic up here, for instance, create our query, but down in where you want to output should be down in the HTML, which obviously will be down from within the table. Alright, so just keep that in mind. If you're building a big application and you know PHP, you should keep your business logic out of your display. You should be using views for display and then have a model for your database interaction. But that's another tutorial on its own. So what we want to do here is we're going to create the select query. Alright, we're going to hold that, we're going to put that inside of a variable called query. Alright, so in here we're just going to do a select statement. So we'll say, just like we've been doing, except we were doing it from inside phpMyAdmin, now we're doing it inside of a PHP file. So we want to select all from customers, and let's see, on a new line, let's say inner join, because we want to bring in the addresses table. So customer addresses, and of course we need our on clause. So on customer addresses dot customer is going to be linked to the customers table ID field. Alright, so that's it. We have our query inside of a variable. Now what we have to do is run that query, and the way we have our database up, we can do that very easily. So let's see, we want to say get results of the query. Okay, so we're going to create a variable called result, and then we're going to use our object. We have a MySQLi object that we created, which we created in that database.php file. So we can say that object and then the method query. Alright, and then all we have to do is pop in our variable. Alright, so you could just as easily put this whole statement inside of these parentheses, but I think it looks a lot neater if you put that inside of a variable and then you pass that variable to the object. Now we should also tack on something to this in case it doesn't run right. Alright, so we'll say or die. Die just means that it's just going to stop the script. Okay, it's just going to stop and do something. If we leave it like this, it will just be a blank page. We want to put an error in there. Alright, so we're going to use the object. The MySQLi object has an error method. Alright, so we're going to say error dot, and then we have a special variable called line with 2 underscores around it. And what that's going to do is show us the line number that we're getting our error at. Alright, so that's basically all we need to do at the top. Remember, we're not outputting any output up here. Okay, this is all just logic. Down here is where we want to put our output. Alright, so let's see. Alright, so we have our table. We just got to figure out where to loop through the customers that are going to be spit out to us, and we don't want to do it up here. We want the headings intact. All right, so these are just headings. This is where we want to put our stuff. All right, so this tr, this whole row is going to be put inside of the loop. All right, so that it can reiterate, and then it will show us customer after customer. All right, so I'm just going to go right here. And the first thing we want to do is check if at least one row is found, because we don't want the loop to run if there's no customers. All right, so we're going to just use a simple if statement. All right, we're going to say we need our PHP tags. We're going to say if result. Now remember, result is coming from up here. All right, we ran the query and we're putting it inside of the result. So down here we're making sure that there's something in there. So we're saying if result, and then it has a method called num rows. All right, and or property, actually, it's not a method. And it's just going to give us the number of rows. For instance, if there's 2 customers in the customers table, this is going to give us 2. All right, if there's none, it's going to give us 0. So we're going to make sure that it's greater than 0. All right, we want to make sure that the rows are greater than 0. All right, and we're going to put an else. This is going to be if else. All right, so let me see. If there's not, okay, so what we're going here is what we want to happen if there are no rows found. All right, so all we want to do if they're not found is echo out something. We'll say echo sorry, no customers were found. All right, and then in here is where we want to run the loop. So we'll say loop through results. And if you already know PHP, then this should be fairly easy. If you don't know it, then just try to pay attention to what's going on. And I would really suggest either looking on our site for a PHP tutorial, or just hit the documentation and just learn it. Because if you're learning MySQL, you should most likely learn PHP, because they go hand in hand. All right, so let's say while. So this is going to be a while loop. So we need to put our condition in here. So we're going to say while row is equal to result fetch assoc. All right, now what this fetch assoc is going to do is it's going to get an associative array of the returns. All right, and we're putting that into a variable called row, so we can use this variable from within the loop. All right, so while it's basically saying while there's still some rows left. All right, because it's going to loop and then it's going to check if there's still some left. If there is, it's going to do whatever we do here, which is going to be display customer info. All right, so what we're going to do is build up a variable. I'm going to create a variable called output, and I'm going to set that equal to, actually I want to use single quotes. We want to equal that to the table row. All right, so right now we just have a variable output which is equal to the beginning tag of a table row. All right, so now we want to build onto this variable. So we'll say output dot equals, which means append. So we're going to add this to it, whatever this is. All right, if we just do equals, it's just going to overwrite this. So we need to append it onto that. So what we're going to append on is the column TD, and let's see, we want to do TD, and then we want to concatenate PHP. So we're going to say row row first name. All right, so we can get any column we want from the customers or the addresses table through this. All right, through this row variable. It's basically put into an array that we can use. So first name, and then let's see, we want a space, so we'll concatenate on a space, go back to PHP, and do the last name. Alright, and then we want to go back to HTML, so we need the dot, and in here we want to put our closing table tag, our closing column, column tag. Alright, so basically we have an output variable which has the beginning table row and then one column. Alright, so now we want to build our other columns. So we're going to say output dot equals, let's see, we want TD. Basically going to do the same thing here. This is going to be the email. So row email, and that's good. Close up the column with TD. Alright, and next we want our address. Alright, we're going to put basically 3 fields, like we put 2 in this row, the first name and last name. We're going to put the address, city, and state. So I'm actually just going to copy this. So we want the address, city, and then we want to tack on to this. We'll tack on a space, and then our state. Okay. Alright, so the last thing we need is that button. We need an edit button. Alright, which is right here. So I'm actually going to copy what we already have there. And we want to put that, we want to build onto that output variable. Alright, so we have a few things we need to do here. We need to change this 1 to be the actual ID of the customer, and that's given to us from in this row array. Alright, so we can get rid of the 1, and we want to concatenate and then say row ID. Alright, so that's actually all we have to do with that, I think. Yeah. Alright, so that looks good. Now we just want to add the closing row tag. So output dot equals, whoop, I'm going to change this. And this is just going to be our closing tr tag. Alright, and then we just want to echo out the variable. Echo output. Alright, so let's try that. Let's get rid of this here. This is just the static row that we had in there, so we can get rid of that. And of course we need to close our PHP tag here. Okay, so basically if we go through this again, we are taking the result, we're checking if there's more than 0, so there's at least 1 row. If there isn't, it'll just give us this message. If there is, we'll start the loop, which we're going to say, as long as there's still a record left, then run this and output this the output variable, which holds all this data, which is basically just a table row with some columns. Alright, so let's save that and cross our fingers. Okay, so this looks good. We have all our names, emails, and addresses. Not sure why the edit button is up there. Let's see. Oh, we didn't put that inside of a column, so we just need to add our TDs. Alright, let's try that. Okay, so this comment shouldn't be showing. Check at least 1 row is found. We have that above our PHP tag. That's not going to work out. We need to put that down here. Well, I guess we can't because... Oh yeah, we can. That's fine. That's fine. Actually, you know what? Even better, we'll just put this on a new line. There we go. Alright, so there is our list. Has all of our customers. We can even order this alphabetically by name. If we go back up to the query, and we can just say order by first name. Now we have them by first name. So this is essentially how you can grab data from your database and put it into the browser. And the way we did it with MySQLi is just one way. There's a lot of different things you can use. You can use PDO, which is PHP data objects, which is another great way to interact with your database. And even if you are using MySQLi, you can look into using prepared statements, which is more secure than this method. I just wanted to give you a quick, easy way to do this. Alright? You actually should use some kind of prepared statements. So, but that would be just too much for this tutorial. But you definitely want to use MySQLi. You don't want to use just the MySQL extension, if that's even still available, because it's really, really unsecure unless you really sanitize your output. So I think that's good. That really covers the select part of it. The next thing I want to do is create an add customer page, which has a form that we can fill out, and when we send it, it'll get sent to both the customers table and the addresses table, and it'll put all the information we need, and then it will just redirect us to this page and tack on the new user. Alright, so that's what we'll be doing in the next section.